Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on New Zealand Sports Radio. Your best way to start the day up to date with all the important sports news. And yes, we come to you at 7 a.m. every single day. The Premiership is back. We have three-team cricket. Russian rugby is back. Night's too good for the Broncos. And the US Open slammed for discrimination. So let's crack right straight into this. And yes, in the English Premier League, Aston Villa and Sheffield United fought out a 0-0 draw, whereas Man City beat Arsenal 3-0 as the Premier League returns. And today we've got Norwich City versus Southampton and Tottenham Hotspur versus Manchester United as the Premier League continues. Over in the Belarusian Premier League, our favourite football league in the world, because, hey, you know what? They kept going and gave us something to talk about for the whole of lockdown. And they start their weekend with Slavia versus Smolovic. Slavia have dropped to mid-table, and Smolovic are second from bottom, so Slavia will be looking to get a good win there. And Sluts versus Neyman Gordona. Yes, Sluts have again another team that have slipped down to mid-table, having not won a game in 5 now after being top earlier, whereas Neyman have climbed to 6th. So yeah, Sluts really need to arrest the slide soon, I would suggest. Yes, that's your football news for today. Moving on to cricket, and South Africa is launching a 3-team cricket game to restart live sport in South Africa. It's going to happen on the 27th of June. It is a one-off game. It is not a new. It's not a new league. The Eagles are going to be led by AB de Villiers, whereas Kagosi Rabamba will captain the Kingfishers, and then Quinton de Kock will captain the Kites. It's an 8-side tournament or game with 36 overs in 2 halves of 18. So yes, it's going to be confusing. Let's be honest. One innings, 12 overs each per team, yes, I say it's going to be. It's got some really interesting rules in there. So if you want to have more details, then check out the 3-team cricket website. Now I'm going to hand you over to Stephen, who's going to take us through our birthdays.
Oh, thank you very much, Paul, and good morning, everybody who's tuning into New Zealand Sport Radio this morning. Of course, we head into a weekend very shortly, so I hope you enjoy your final workday. In birthdays today, to former New Zealand under-21 fighters, and finally a former captain of the Silver Ferns. But it's with rugby where we start this morning. Tiaan Falcon, born this day, the 19th of June 1997, is a New Zealand rugby union player who plays for the Chiefs in Super Rugby. His position of choice is first five. Falcon, who celebrates his 23rd birthday today, plays his provincial rugby for Hawke's Bay in the Mitre 10 Cup and was part of the last New Zealand under-20 rugby team to lift the Junior World Cup in 2017. Speaking of first fives, Harry Plummer, born this day, the 19th of June, 1998, is a New Zealand rugby union player who plays for the Blues in Super Rugby and Auckland in Mitre 10 Cup. His playing position is fly half. He signed up with the Blues in 2019 after some solid form with the Auckland provincial team. Plummer, who turns 22 today, also represented New Zealand at under-20 rugby level in 2018. And finally, Casey May Kupua, ONZM Nee Williams, born this day, the 19th of June 1985, is a retired New Zealand netball international player and former captain of the New Zealand national netball team, the Silver Ferns, in the Waikato Bay of Plenty Magic. Kopua, who celebrates her 35th birthday today, has been a member of the New Zealand national team since 2004, making her on-court debut in 2005 against Barbados. She also played in the New Zealand under-21 netball team that won gold at the 2005 World Youth Netball Championships in Florida. During her career, she has won gold medals at the 2006 and 2010 Commonwealth Games and the 2009 World Netball Series, and silver medals at the 2007 and 2011 World Netball Championships. In July 2009, Kopua became the 23rd captain of the Silver Ferns, and in 2011, in the Queen's Birthday Honours, Kopua was appointed an officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit. After all those accolades, I would present her with the New Zealand Order of Merit as well. That's birthdays today. Back to you, Paul. Back with league news shortly.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And moving on to rugby news, and the Blues have announced their team with injuries to Tom Robinson and Blake Gibson amongst the Lucies. They have had to make changes to their side, and that means the return of Akira Ioane in the number 6 jersey rather than the number 8 that he's more used to. And Dalton Papali'i will start in that number 7 jersey for the Blues. Beauden Barrett retains his place at 15 with a Black 10, a combination that worked for them last weekend when the Blues beat the Hurricanes. Can they travel down the road to beat the Chiefs here in Hamilton? The Chiefs have announced their team, and Sam Cane is yet again excluded due to injury with lower stiffness in his lower back. It sounds like they're not sure what it is that's causing this, and clearly it's something that you want. So we all want for them to get sorted. Remember, Sam Cane did have that horrendous neck injury at the end of last year. Looking at the Chiefs side, and we have Damon McKenzie again starting at 15 with Aaron Cruden coming off the bench last time, and this time he's going to start in that number 10 jersey, swapping Caleb Trask will go to the bench. Solomon Alamalo also makes his appearance in the matchday 23 on the bench as well. So a couple of changes for the Chiefs as they look to get their season off to a better start after losing to the Highlanders by a single point last weekend. Talking of those games, they obviously had bumper crowds, and it looks like we're going to see that yet again. They're looking at over 20,000 well over 20,000. The Chiefs are predicting at the 25,000 capacity Waikato Stadium, and then down in Wellington. Unfortunately, it looks like the weather has put off a few people, but they are still looking at being over 20,000 again. They were hoping to get closer to the, hoping to get over 30,000, but I say the weather looks to have slowed down ticket sales down there in Wellington. Over in Europe and South Africa, and the Pro 14 will return on the 22nd of August after a 5-month hiatus, or at least that's when they're looking to return. They will have home and away derbies that will finish off, and then they will have the semi-finals and finals. So a truncated end to the season for the Pro 14, but at least they're looking at finishing things off there. I'm going to hand you back to Stephen for our league update. But don't forget, folks, you're listening to the Morning Sports Briefing, on New Zealand Sports Radio.
Just before we get on to last night's opening game of round 6 in the NRL, the South Sydney Rabbitohs have outlaid $1.7 million to ensure 16-year-old teenage sensation Joseph Suaalii remains in rugby league and will make his NRL debut for the Bunnies. Fox Sports can reveal the Rabbitohs held a Zoom meeting on Wednesday where Suaalii agreed to the richest contract in the history of rugby league or union for a teenager. The 3-year deal is unable to be registered with the NRL until August 1st, when the towering fullback turns 17 years old. But the Rabbits were so intent on landing the signature of the young gun labelled a cross between Sonny Bill Williams and Greg Inglis, they have agreed to terms, drawn up the paperwork, and will now simply wait until August 1st. The meeting on Wednesday was attended by the young gun teenager, his parents, and South Sydney football manager Mark Allison. Sua Ali spent the summer training with the South Sydney NRL squad and won over the likes of Supercoach Wayne Bennett, Sam Burgess, and Damien Cook. Standing at 1.96 centimetres and weighing 96 kgs, Wallabies coach Dave Rennie attempted to sign him in February this year. Rugby Australia and the New South Wales Waratahs were also having a big crack at signing him. But the Glenmore Park product, who has been in the South Sydney Juniors age 9-11, was determined to remain in Rugby League. The Tina will be able to make his NRL debut on August 1st of next year, when the Rabbits plan to fast-track him straight into the team. Suali represented New South Wales in Rugby League and in rugby union, AFL, and basketball, and has been wooed by some of the biggest names in Australian sport. Wow, what a talent. Well, alone, we move on to our first round game from last night. A lone intercept try laid on by former teammate Andrew McCulloch was enough source of points for Brisbane last night, as they were thumped 27-6 by Newcastle. McCulloch, the Brisbane veteran, who was released by the Broncos a month ago, handed his team their first try of the night, but they didn't get close to scoring again at Central Coast Stadium. Since the NRL competition restarted, the Broncos have not scored a second-half try, and the trend continued going into the Sheds, down 13-6 before conceding another 2 tries in the second half. The loss intensifies serious concerns about the club's attack, while dual enforcers Patrick Kerrigan and Tavita Pangai Jr. will sweat on match review committee findings. After separate incidents last night, Kerrigan was sin-binned for a late shot on Knights halfback Mitchell Pearce midway through the second half, while Pangai Jr. could face sanction for a potential shoulder charge on David Clemmer in just the 4th minute. The Australian prop was knocked on his back by the 24-year-old Bronco after he was rocked with a solid front-on contact. That final score again, Newcastle Knights 27, Brisbane Broncos 6. In games this evening, the Warriors play the Rabbits at Bankwest Stadium, 8 p.m. New Zealand time, and in the late game, the Penrith Panthers take on the Melbourne Storm at Campbelltown Stadium at 9:55 p.m. kickoff New Zealand time. Please tell us what you thought of that Clemmer hit. I must admit, I saw it myself, and I thought at the time, as opposed to the commentators who were all waxing lyricals about what a great shot it was, I actually thought it was an illegal hit. Shoulder in first, and it just knocked him straight on his back. Now, I know we'll probably be knocking Ashland straight on his back this morning, because I'd like to thank my niece for supplying this lovely Crusaders jersey up here behind me. And by the way, Uncle still loves you, even though you support the Crusaders. That's Rugby League news for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more league news, Paul. I hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, I watch, as a rugby person, I watch some of the Lowe's League hits and go, how is that illegal? But hey, yeah. The commentators seem to enjoy it, and it's good to see that they have that live sport. But also in live sports, netball returns this evening at 7 p.m. with the Magic versus the Mystics. Now remember, the first two games tonight and tomorrow night on Saturday, at 5 p.m. on Saturday, will be for family and friends only. But after that, you'll be able to buy tickets. So from Sunday, you can buy the tickets to where the Stars we play the Pulse, and then on Monday the Stars play the Tactics. So if you'd like to get along to a game there at the Auckland Netball Centre in St John's, then get online and get those tickets. That all starts this evening. Over in the US Open, the US Open announced that it was just the men's and women's singles and doubles, and that the mixed doubles, junior and wheelchair tennis would be omitted. The world number one and world number two in the wheelchair tennis. Dylan Alcott and Andy Lapthorne have come out and criticised the US Open for its discrimination of the wheelchair of disabled athletes by not having the wheelchair tennis. Alcott said players weren't consulted. I thought I did enough to qualify. 2 times champion, world number 1 in the world, but unfortunately I missed the only thing that mattered, being able to walk. So that's was Alcott. Lapthorne was even more slamming in his response to it, that it was, yes, blatant discrimination for able-bodied people to decide on my behalf what I do with my life and career just because I'm disabled. Not good enough. So hopefully the US Open will look at this and make a change. As one of them said, they love tennis, absolutely can't stand everything that comes with it. Constant battles, still in the dark ages. So clearly tennis has a long way to go with its equalities. Moving on to harness racing back here in New Zealand. And trainer Nigel McGrath has admitted to 3 charges, but has denied the fact that he was going to be tubing. The things that he is pleading guilty to was administering a prohibited substance on a race day, refusing to supply information to a racecourse inspector, and obstructing a racecourse inspector during an investigation. But as I say, he has denied the tubing one. He said he was going to be applying air support orally, which is normally a legal substance, but it's not allowed to be used within 24 hours of a race. And he denied the more serious charge of tubing of the horse. His defense lawyer is asking for a financial penalty for the 3 charges that he has admitted to, whereas the authorities are asking for a 10-year ban on that one. Moving on to cycling, and in much more positive news, the National Criterium Championships will take place in Christchurch. It was supposed to alternate between Christchurch and North Harbour in Takapuna, but the road or works that are required in Takapuna have yet to take place as part of the city's downtown rejuvenation plan. And so Christchurch has stepped up to host it 2 years on the trot. This will be staged on Sunday, November the 15th. So look forward to that cycling competition down there in Christchurch. You have now started the day the best way, up to date with all the important sports news here on New Zealand Sports Radio. Join us this evening at 8 p.m. for the Super Rugby Aotearoa Round 2 preview. And also back here at 7 a.m. every single morning with the morning sports briefing. Also, you can listen to us on the move. Just download the podcast, search for New Zealand Sports Radio on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, Acast, or your favorite podcatcher. We're all over the place there. Would really appreciate your support, and thank you for watching and listening.